McGowan, Brad Todd, Neera Tanden, Jason Rantz, and Jemele Hill. Americans with different perspectives aren't talking to each other, but here they do.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Good evening, I'm Abby Phillip in New York. The results are rolling in on a number of key primary races across the country, including right here in New York, where we're watching a slew of high-profile contests that are testing the power of Zohran Mamdani, the mayor of this city. Now, the Democratic Socialist-backed candidates in 3 House primaries, including 2 challengers taking on Democratic incumbents, and tonight's results could be a major indicator of where the party is headed this November. So let's get straight to CNN's chief national correspondent, John King, who's tracking the results live. Now, John, we've projected here at CNN 2 of the races being run by Mamdani's chosen candidates. What can you tell us about what happened in those races?
Abby, in the 2 we've projected so far, it's the margins that tell you about the strength of the progressive movement right now, the strength of Mamdani, the strength of his organizations. Let's start here. This is the first one we called. This is the 10th district. Brad Lander was a mayoral rival back in the early days, then a Mamdani supporter, had his endorsement in this race. And look at this versus a Democratic incumbent member of Congress. Incumbents rarely lose primaries. When they do lose, it's not by margins like that. That tells you, wow. Now Brad Lander has been a citywide official, He has a big following in the area. So he has his own strengths in addition to the progressive strength of the moment and the mayor's endorsement. But that is a thumping of an incumbent. Then you move over here to the 7th district. The incumbent here is retiring, Nydia Velázquez. As you know, she's a powerful force in New York City politics. She had endorsed the Brooklyn borough president over Mamdani's pick, the Democratic Socialist Claire Valdez. Again, look at the margin. Nydia Velázquez has a big organization in her district. She is a powerful force, will remain a powerful voice in city politics, but she was thumped tonight by the mayor's choice there. And then now we're waiting here. This one is the closest one of them tonight. This is the 3rd race where the mayor endorsed in the 13th district. Again, taking a risk, going against not only the Democratic establishment, but a Democratic incumbent and a senior member of the Democratic Party in Washington in Congress. Right now, his candidate, though, has a narrow lead, about 86% of the vote in. So this is the only close one. This is the only close one against a very prominent, very powerful Democratic incumbent there. But so far, the mayor has 2 wins, and his candidate is leading in the 3rd as he tries to make, not just in the city and not just in the state, but he's trying to make a national statement about Democratic Socialists and about progressives and about fight.
And John, as we were just speaking, we've got some breaking news coming in to CNN. Let's go over to New York 12. Let's go over to New York 12 because that's where CNN is now projecting that Micah Lasher will now win that pretty crowded Democratic primary. He defeats Alex Borres, who was just trailing him in that race. Now, John, this was one of those interesting races where you had a Kennedy, you had a strong Trump opponent, you had in Alex Borres someone who's running essentially against big tech, and now you have Micah Lasher winning this race. Talk to us about what we should know.
For all the attention on this race and a ton of money thrown into this primary, you mentioned a lot of it by AI forces in this race. But essentially what you had here, Abby, you're in the city, I'm here in D.C. This was West Side versus East Side more than anything else, more than the celebrity candidates, more than the Kennedy grandson, more than George Conway. This was West Side versus East Side, both members of the state assembly there, and Micah Lasher winning this race 39% to 35%. You see Jack Schlossberg, President Kennedy's grandson, getting only 11%. And you see you have to go all the way down. George Conway running last in this primary with just 6%. So a lot of understandable focus because he switched parties, because he's the ex-husband of Kellyanne Conway, a fierce Trump critic. Obviously, the Kennedy name on the ballot brought celebrity to this race, but this became about 2 very popular local politicians in this central Manhattan district right there, and Lasher now projected to win that state. This is a very, very safe Democratic seat. It's the most wealthy congressional district in New York City. Jerry Nadler, the longtime incumbent, retiring, certainly a blue Democratic seat come November.
And we should note, this race was not one that Mamdani endorsed in.
That's
so
correct.
We're still waiting for the one to see where this narrative goes. And we'll be watching that as the night goes on. John King, thank you very much. We'll be back with you as the night progresses. My panel is here with me. Let's start with the two candidates that Zohran Mamdani endorsed. We're still waiting again for the fate of New York 13, which frankly is perhaps one of the more controversial of his endorsements. But if he were to get a clean sweep tonight, that message, what is the message that is being sent to national Democrats as a result of it?
Yeah, I think it's a reckoning. I think it's a wake-up call. I think people are trying to say over and over again that we're tired of how the game has been played. We've tried it your way. We've tried it with your consultants. We've tried it with you reaching across the aisle, and we're tired. And we want people who are looking out for the people, and that's what Mamdani represents. I think we're not going back. I think we have to really understand that this version of predatory capitalism has come to its fruition, and we're kind of all in this monopoly game where that one person has all the money and all the property on the table, and we're like, this isn't fun anymore. We have to try new rules to this game, and this is what we're being offered with the Democratic Socialist Party.
But Neera, do you think that, what then, right? Like, is democratic socialism really something that is exportable outside of New York? Let me just read this quote from John Fetterman, who's no fan of the socialists. He says to Manu Raju, the dirtbag left is surging. That's what he says is happening tonight in some of the primaries.
Well, I think it's hard to take advice from John Fetterman these days about where the Democratic Party is. I will note he had a lot of left support when he was running and then turned his back on the left pretty quickly when he came into power. I think we should look across the board. There's also another important race in New York 17. It'll be Mike Lawler's seat. That is a seat that is really up for grabs. It's contesting a Republican seat. A woman won. Kate Conley has been declared in some places, and she is a former military leader and has served many times in across the oceans to protect Americans. And I think, she was facing a more progressive candidate, but people there were looking for a more moderate person to go up against a Republican. I think this is a healthy Democratic Party. In urban cores, like in New York City, places where there are a lot of liberal voices, people are hungry for change, and I think they are angry at some establishment figures that have left them down, but also where you need to put up competitive races and competitive candidates. Democratic primary voters are still selecting candidates who can best beat the Republican.
They're pulling the brand leftward. I mean, the Democratic Party now is the Democratic Socialist Party of America. They're for anti-Semitism. They're for confiscation. They're against capitalism.
Come on, we're
this
for
is what's happening.
anti-Semitism.
This
That's
is what's
obscene.
happening.
That's
This
an
is what's
obscene
happening.
statement.
And you also can look tonight and see somebody else is a big loser. That's Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries is going to lose these races in New York where Zohran Mamdani
He didn't
is
endorse
endorsed.
in these races.
He did endorse. He endorsed Goldman. He endorsed his incumbent members of Congress. If he can't get the Hispanic caucus chairman across the line in a city where he's the leading figure of the political machine, then his stick is very short in the U.S. Capitol. And that's because Hakeem Jeffries himself, as liberal as he is not far left enough for today's Democratic primary voters.
It's not about being far left.
Also, he was fine in his race.
The Democratic Socialist Party of America's critique is that the Democratic Party is
but the
not
thing
far
is,
left.
you just made a statement about.
You have to realize those words don't scare people anymore. Is that saying socialist and saying
Jews, I'll say that, especially with the three that are moving
to be
forward
look, I'm
tonight.
gonna tell you
It
my
does
viewpoint as
scare
somebody who
Jews.
lives in Los Angeles, right?
Okay.
A lot of people, and you know this too,
Yep.
you live in LA. The number one thing they're saying is, why can't we have a Mamdani?
That's what they're saying.
And it's about energy. It's not really about some of the things you guys have named. They look at him doing things. They look at him sort of breaking the mold about and imagining things in a different way. And that's what has been missing from the Democratic
what they're
Party is
imagining
imagination.
is a
They don't have
world
the
in which Israel
imagination.
doesn't
You don't win
exist.
Congress in New York
Guys,
or LA. You win
let me
in
just hit
Pennsylvania
pause for
where
a second
John
because
Fetterman.
CNN has a projection. I'm going to go straight to John King over at the Now Blog.
And that projection, Abby, means that the mayor, Mamdani, does get a sweep of the three races in which he endorsed in Democratic primaries tonight. The Democratic Socialist candidate, Danielisa Avila Chevalier, beating a powerful Democratic, long-standing Democratic incumbent, Adriano Espaillat. Much more narrow race than the other two districts here, but this is, again, this is a mayor making a statement. This is a candidate making a statement. You're having the conversation with your panel about we want new, we want different, and yes, we want more liberal. In this particular case, Espaillat is certainly a Democrat and a progressive, but this is part of the generational divide. We've also seen the Democratic Party. We want new, we want younger, but there's one for the mayor. There's two for the mayor. And there's 3 tonight. So the conversation is going to be, Abby, number 1, how much power does Zohran Mamdani have in New York City politics? Number 2, he's also making some enemies tonight, let's be honest. He's been mayor 6 months, and he's gone against 2 Democratic incumbents and the wishes of the retiring Democratic incumbent in the 3rd district there. But he's making a statement for the city, for the state, and he's also making a statement of where he thinks the Democratic Party should go nationally, both for the next 5 months and into 2028. So as you're discussing with your panel, can you export this? Can you sell what he wants to do in New York City, where his candidates clearly are winning tonight, where he won clearly, convincingly? Can you sell it? Well, he wants to be part of that debate, and tonight he's proving he gets a big role in it.
You know, this is a really important conversation because Zohran Mamdani, thank you, John King, Zohran Mamdani he took a big swing, right, as we were just discussing. And you don't take those kinds of swings unless you think you can win, and he did. And this last race that we just called, just 1 second, because I think this is super important. Daria Elisa Avila Chevalier is one of the more controversial candidates. CNN earlier in the year reported that she had deleted previous Twitter posts expressing views for abolishing police, prisons, borders, seizing private property, nationalizing major industries, calling into question Israel's right to exist. She spoke to a friend of the show, Ested Herndon, in a recent interview, said that all deportations are immoral. So all of that being said, there she is defeating a Democratic incumbent, a powerful member of the Hispanic caucus, who's been
chairman.
The chairman. He's been there for a really long time. I mean, you could say that all of this is just controversial. She's a bad candidate, but she's likely to just be the congressperson. And does it not suggest, though, that the voters looked at that and they were like, we don't really care about that. We care about all these other things?
I think that's the problem for the greater Democratic Party in this district, or in these 3 districts. You have the ones who are the furthest to the left, who under no uncertain terms support open borders, do not support any deportation. And even in that podcast interview, I mean, she was given a follow-up of, even if it's a murderer, even if it's a rapist, no, they shouldn't be deported. Republicans are very obviously going to take advantage of this, and it's going to hurt the Democrats nationwide. You could win in New York, you can win in Seattle, you can win in Portland and Los Angeles, but that's where you're going to win. And if we're able to define the Democrats who have tried to run away from this label of being socialist, being open borders, being, pro-crime or anti-Israel, if that's the goal of the Democratic Party, to run from that, you're not going to be able to do that
But you forget
anymore.
one important thing. People are broke. That's the other part you forget, is that the affordability crisis in this country, I think, is a major win for a lot of Democrats. It's like, again, all those little scary terms y'all like to use to try to throw people off and say...
She's open borders, right?
And I'm not saying that I agree with that.
That is
but
what
there's
she
extreme
believes.
MAGA candidates, too, that run on way worse things
Do you
than
call
this.
them out as well? And you
Yes,
usually
we
use
do.
them
And
as
guess what? They still
Democrats
get
for that
elected.
point.
You know why? Because there is core things that still resonate with people, and all the scary terms aren't going to get them off of that. At the end of the day, if people are broke, they do not care.
In far-left districts where Republicans aren't running, like Republicans don't lose anything tonight in these districts, but they are going to be dealing with some of these far-left candidates in, say, Maine. I mean, to come up for Congressman Golden's position, you guys put someone very far to the left, and that's now going to go into the Republican camp. We're going to pick that seat up. When you're going
I don't
into
think you will, my friend. I think that's the thing. You guys keep putting out all these scary terms. No, we've heard all this anti-Semitism and
they're
we are evil
anti-Semites.
and we're
If you do
open
not
borders.
believe in Israel's right to exist, that means you're an anti-Semite.
That's one candidate that you're talking about
There's
in the
3
entire
candidates.
country. No, listen,
That is the
you
part
cannot
of the
make it about a
Democratic
scary terms.
Socialist Party.
There
It's
are
not a scary
people
term.
struggling in this country, and we need representatives that don't just represent the
Could you
donors
find
and the
one?
lobby groups and the billionaires. Mamdani is showing us that you can deliver. It is possible to run and keep your promises. I would love to talk
anti-Semitic
without you
views.
talking over me the entire time.
Yeah. That's how we
Yes, and he's also out there saying that he's going to align himself with the folks that do not believe in Israel's right to exist.
Redlander.
That is a problem.
But if you want to throw that live, I'd say find me an extreme MAGA politician that's not bigoted.
But
I would say the same thing.
What about what Jemele is saying? I mean, isn't the story of the last 10 years of politics, especially in this Trump era, that there are, even in the Republican tent, plenty of people to the far right that have been welcomed into the tent. And maybe they're toxic, maybe they're controversial, but they still get elected in their ruby red districts. It just seems like a parallel thing is starting to happen on the Democratic side. And part of what's happening is that Democrats are actually learning from what Republicans did.
I don't think
over
they're
the
learning.
last 10 years.
I don't really think they are learning. I mean, I think if you look back, this happened to us. In 2010 and 2012, you can look at candidates like Sharon Angle and Richard Murdoch and Todd Akin. We left a lot of Senate seats and House seats on the table because we did things that made the most radical people in our party happy. And you guys are celebrating, oh, we're taking our party back. We're finally sending a message. It's a message that swing voters are going to be scared of. Congresswoman Chevalier, Congresswoman-elect Chevalier, I'd like to invite her to come campaign in any of the districts where I'm working with candidates this year. She would be welcome. We might pay her travel expenses. I would like her to be an ambassador of the Democratic Party.
But she's not an ambassador of the Democratic
Sure
Party,
she
ma'am.
is. She
Of
just,
course she
you
is.
just won tonight. You just said that.
she is.
No, she's not.
But I'm sorry, but
No,
aren't you
she's not.
celebrating the unity that she's bringing to the base of the Democratic Party? You're saying that she's energizing everyone,
No,
and we're going to point that out.
I think we started
she is
this by
energizing
talking. I
the
think
base
we
of the
started
extremists
this
in your
by
party.
saying her race was the closest, that Mamdani was the thing that we were celebrating, and Mamdani is showing that
Who
politicians can.
handpicked extremists.
Again, I'm speaking, and you keep
Hold on.
talking over me. I would love to
It's a
finish
debate
your point.
show.
Okay, hold on a second. Just finish your point, and then you can respond.
My point is, we were talking about Mamdani. Mamdani, in 6 months, has shown what the Democrats have not been able to show in years. That you can say you're going to get something done, and then you can get it done. That you can look out for the people, and you can actually deliver for them. That if you don't answer to the billionaire class, and you don't answer to a lobby group, and you don't answer to your donors, then you can actually keep looking out for the people. And that's why when we're talking about John saying, you know, is this Mamdani's idea? This is what a lot of us in the country want. We want politicians that answer to us, that look out for us, that represent us.
Madami said
All
he
right,
wants to
hold on.
seize the means of production.
let me
he says he wants
He
to
does
fix
not
your
say he wants to.
let
We've been
Jason-
throwing
He actually
socialism
said it.
around since
He
the
actually
40s.
said
It's
it.
like a scary
He actually
word that
said
we're all
it.
supposed
No,
to
he said that.
glorify.
That's a quote from him.
Jason, respond to that and also square it with the fact that Trump said all those things about Mamdani, but you know, he's cool with him now. He had him at the White House. They're working together on issues, on housing. I don't know. Trump doesn't seem to be sort of following through on his pledge to use Mamdani against the Democrats. He seems to be wanting to walk hand in hand.
But you don't think that Republicans are going to use this, including Donald Trump, once we get closer to
I'm
the
just
midterms?
wondering
I mean,
how
we're
effective that's
obviously-
going to be.
I think it's going to be very
president
effective because these
is
are
effectively clasping hands with Mamdani and they're walking into the future of
Well,
New
is
York City
Mamdani
together.
clasping hands with Donald Trump? I mean, I think it goes a little bit both ways,
Yeah.
where they're trying to say we can work together, especially in New York. And New York is a special case, obviously, for the president. But the bigger picture issue for the party is more damaging. You can win these races in New York. You're not going to win them elsewhere.
I
That's
disagree.
Just
You can't say
but you're
Mamdani
not.
is a
I guess
beacon to
that's
show
what
Democrats
you
how to
want.
win and then say we
I think
can't
that
take the
actually
socialism to other places.
is true, right? You can win them in New York, but these candidates may not be exportable to other parts of the country.
They will pull the
so
brand
you kinda,
left.
Well, I mean, I think those are two separate things.
They will
You're
pull
saying
it
that
left.
everybody gets tainted by it.
Other
There is a
incumbents will be
scenario in
scared.
which Democrats actually run the right candidates in the right places.
Yes,
that,
I mean,
that is
can I
also
just
a
say,
scenario.
democracy
can I
is
just
supposed
say
to be.
this whole issue of 2010 and 2010, 2012, you're absolutely right. Republicans took a very competitive races and they put very extreme candidates in. And I think that is not what's happening in the Democratic Party today. What you saw today is in the most liberal parts of America, they found very liberal candidates. And you know what? Those people should represent, they should get the representatives they want. But as I pointed out, in competitive districts and states, they were nominating, Democrats were nominating sometimes more moderate candidates. Josh Turek just won in Iowa against a more progressive candidate, a great candidate, more progressive candidate, but people believed he has a better chance of defeating Ashley Hinson. And I think that we also saw that today in New York 17. So, and that's a healthy party.
Not
actually.
in northern Maine, not Grand Plattner, not in California against David Valadao. We are seeing, and how do we know? Because the House Democrats have been spending money to try to stop these people from winning.
So, okay, this is the setup, right, for the fall in 2028. We'll see what happens in all of those races. Next for us, the president admits